Gems. You're missing gems here, man. Do not miss these gems. Yeah, so it's like, I love that song, What If God Were One of Us? It tells me how maybe I should treat people at the grocery store. What if? What if? Reminds me of my friend Rory Elder, who ministered at Unity of Monterey. He was in my seminary class. Oh, God, what a wonderful, amazing man. He's left the planet now, way too soon. But he was wonderful. He showed up one Sunday dressed as a homeless person, complete with the garbage and smell, and he's makeup artist, the whole deal, and like no one recognized him. No one sat near him. They have people in his church avoided him, and he sat like in the third row, and people like went everywhere else. And when his wife Vicky introduced Roy to speak that day, this homeless guy stands up and makes his way. He's a very large man anyways, so he could pull it off with all the overcoats and stuff. He went up and he gave him heaven. What if God was one of us? What if it was, how do you treat people? How do we treat people? So it's such a perfect song for today, because we're talking about spirituality and the 12 steps of recovery. How the 12 steps of recovery are amplified and deepened by new thought spirituality that we practice here, and how people who aren't alcoholic or addicted to, or are wise to study the 12 steps of recovery and put those into our lives. That there's really some important spiritual principles here. It's got nothing to do, or very little to do, tangentially to do with diseases like alcoholism. They were started by people who didn't have that problem. They were just New Thought Christians in the cutting edge Christians back in the early 1900s, the Oxford movement, and it went on from there. Became very interdenominational and all. Anyways, there's much talk in the 12 steps about a higher power. And that's what I want to talk about today. What if God was one of us? There's a lot of talk about God. And what they say in the steps and in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous and other treatises that are used in the recovery programs, they talk about God as we understood him. They give you the opportunity to define God for yourself. What does that mean to you? What is this higher power for you? Who is this higher power? You don't have to believe in Jesus or Buddha or Mohammed. You don't have to believe in any particular religion. It's not about a religion. It's about having a power greater than your own mind that you can rely on. So let's talk about this higher power today and the various ideas of quote-unquote God. My intention today is that, and hear this, my intention is that you not leave here with any answers. Only a lot of questions. And only with a whole bunch of possibilities. The answers aren't so helpful with God. Because when you come to the answer, there was a great Zen master who said, he asked his students a koan, a typical koan, what is the sound of one hand clapping? And whenever the student would have the answer, it might be a really good answer, people might go, yeah, that's it. He would go, no, not that. No, not that. No matter what was said, it was always, no, not that. Because the master wanted his students to live with the question, to walk around pondering the question. And that's the idea here as well today, to be pondering the question of God, the question of higher. Because as soon as you know about God, as soon as you understand God, you're now into concepts, constructs of the mind. You're no longer into the experience, because now you know, and now you got to go tell somebody and sign them up for your religion. And that's happened a whole bunch of times in the history of humankind, and we see what that leads to. That leads to dogma, you see. That leads to a dogma, which is defined as a principle or set of principles laid down by an authority as incontrovertibly true. And dogma is a source of a lot of evil in the world. We have infallible human beings come out of dogma. One pope is infallible, and then another later changes the doctrine, and he's also infallible. So he changes the doctrine It's like mind-twisting stuff from well-meaning people who get lost in reason, the powers of the logical mind, the powers of the linear mind, trying to define the infinite. It's the finite mind trying to figure out the infinite is not a pretty thing. It's led to whole belief systems that are built upon finite logic, like Augustine and other theologians, trying to figure out how it is possible that you have God and Jesus and a Holy Spirit all having miraculous power. And even though Jesus never claimed to be God, in fact, he denied that he was God, yet he did very amazing and miraculous things and said that a Holy Spirit would come along after he was dead, who would be our comforter. So you have now God and the Holy Spirit and Jesus, and they're all God. What do we do, said Augustine? And he came up with the Trinity. And if you don't believe in the Trinity, well, we have another theological argument that will have you believe that. And we have theological arguments on top of each other to make and defend that ecclesiastical reasoning. And pretty soon, you have to believe it or you can't be part of the church. You can't be part of the community. And you become ostracized as a sinner and a heretic. And then Constantine's troops come along and burn your books and kill you and your family and pillage your entire village. And if you disagree, guess what? The ultimate, you're going to go to hell. You're going to go to hell, which is a place which is made up by the early church to keep the citizens of the ancient world marching in step with the Emperor Constantine. The early Christians in Jerusalem didn't know about. They understood hell. Gehenna. It was Gehenna. Gehenna. It was the refuse dump outside of Jerusalem where people took the garbage and it was constantly burning. That was the idea. You might as well be in Gehenna, was what Jesus would say to a sinner. You might as well just go spend your life in Gehenna. He wasn't talking about eternal life in punishment. He was talking about your life's going to nowhere. You might as well be in the refuse out there if you're living this way. And centuries later, here we are down through the centuries fighting wars in the name of what? Religion. And Westboro Baptist Church protesting the burials of Iraqi war vets because the Army now allows homosexuals. Absurd. There's an absurd extent to which dogma goes. So be careful what you think you know. Be very careful. Werner Erhard has made a big difference in my life. Werner Erhard said, in life, understanding is the booby prize. In life, understanding is the booby prize. It's the experience is the thing. Where Erhard was a Zen master who didn't call himself one, but he was. He learned from the great Zen master Alan Watts in San Francisco. He was a student of his. And then he founded the S Training and the Landmark Forum and all. And so he was into the experience of life, not be able to explain it. If you can explain happiness, but if you're not happy, how does that feel? It feels like well, okay, I'm smart if I can explain happiness. Well, so what? Are you happy? No, not really. It's about the experience we're talking about. The experience of God is vastly more impactful than the ability to talk about God. Even if you go to heaven someday, you have the right answer, and you tell Peter, listen, I got the right answer here. See, I wrote this essay about God. And Peter goes, hey, that's perfect. How was the experience? I don't know. I was pretty unhappy most of my life, but at least I figured God out. It's about the spiritual experience we're talking about. I have known people who walk around with Bibles under their arms, pages marked and memorized, underlined, and who judge others and themselves mercilessly, and always seem to be suffering, always suffering. Their families are miserable, but they can memorize the Bible. See, it's not that part of the mind that we're talking about here. Often in recovery circles, we'll hear someone say, my best thinking got me here. My best thinking got me here to a recovery room. That's the limitations of the rational linear mind. And many of these same people will continue to follow their best thinking that got them there. They follow the rational logical mind as expressed by themselves and those around them. Their higher power will often be they'll say my higher power is a group of drunks, G-O-D, a group of drunks, and they'll talk like that because they haven't done. And there have been a few AA writers who've written about this. This wasn't my idea. They haven't done the work of meditation and looking deep into their own shadow self, looking deep into life for, what is truly a higher power beyond your logical mind. When they get to, there's books called books about, in recovery, there are books that talk about how to meditate. They don't want to read that part of the book because it's weird, it's strange. Okay. I was very fortunate. I had a sponsor when I got into a recovery program. And because of anonymity, I won't say which one it was, but I qualify for several. My sponsor's like a coach or a mentor. My sponsor, I went to him, I said, Tony, I don't know what to do. I have trouble with this whole God concept. Does God really exist? Tony said, I don't know. Go ask him. Tony was a Zen teacher. He really was. He said, go ask him. Go get on your knees and ask. And I did. And I'm glad I did, because then I got an answer. And it was I've had mystical experiences because Tony taught me, don't ask me, go ask the infinite. Go ask the everything nothing, as the Buddhists call it, the everything nothing. Go ask the quanta. Go ask the nothingness and see what happens. Be open. Have an open mind. There's something called, there was a great psychologist named Abraham Maslow, who came up with what he called Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And here it is here. The human beings have these certain needs. At the base, there's physiological needs. You got to eat, got to drink, need shelter. The safety needs are the next level up. That we go for, we need this bottom line, physiologically, food and water. We need shelter. We have an umbrella here, we have a home here, we need that. Then moving, once those are covered, food and shelter, then we need love and belonging needs. We need our family. We need relationships. Those are very important. And then there's esteem needs, like, the right job, the right kind of car, people like us, a sense of self-esteem, trophies, represented by trophies and all. And then the highest was self-actualization, where you become the best you can possibly be. You become really fulfilled as a human being. And in later years, Maslow took another look at this, and he began to be critical of his own theory regarding self-actualization. See, with these, you can use the linear mind, the logical mind, to get to all of these. Your best thinking that got you here, in other words. You can use it to get your food and water. You can use it to get shelter. The caveman could find a cave, and he didn't have much more working for him than the logical mind. And you can get love and belonging needs, family and friends, and self-esteem. Obviously, you can win trophies. You can get the vice presidency of the company or whatever. You can get the blue ribbon using your logical, linear, rational mind. And you can actually even get to self-actualization, being more fulfilled, using that mind. Now, you can get to all of these using spiritual mind, using a higher power of mind. You can get there much easier. We teach that here. How to have more success, how to have loving relationships using spiritual principles. But a lot of people, most people, skirt past those and use the regular mind to get those. The problem is that there's something else available to humankind. And he came to this, Maslow's motivation model, where he added, on top of the physiological needs, food and shelter, home, family, esteem, and all these other needs here, and on top of self-actualization, he added transcendence, something called transcendence, that is a higher self. It takes to transcend your humanity, to transcend your normal brain, to transcend who you think you are, and to discover something new and transformative about life. You have to be open. That's the best way I can say it. Anybody who's experienced transcendence knows you got there by being open to something new and being infused with something that you had never thought of and that your rational mind just didn't think about. The shadow work that Jung talks about, and the shadow work isn't rational mind. That's a transcendent mind, that kind of work. And so, the third step of the 12 steps says, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand Him. We made a decision to turn our will and our lives, all of it, to turn everything over to something I have no idea what it is. But it's all powerful, it's all loving, and it's somewhere, and I don't know what it is. But I don't know. I give it up. I don't know. And so today we want to consider that for our own lives and to consider some ideas about God. I'm not going to define God for you. That would be just the opposite of what we want to do today. But I'm going to give you some ideas. Deepak Chopra. You've heard of Deepak Chopra? Deepak Chopra says if somebody is pointing to the moon, you should look at the moon, not worship their finger. But that's what they do in organized religion, he says. He says, I think religion is just a cult with a large following. It has to evolve. We must take the religious experience and sacrifice the dogma and the ideology. Just take the experience. Enjoy savor the experience. Go for the experience. And let go of all the belief system that people built up around it to try to explain it. Because that's where the danger comes from. There's various concepts of what God might be. I know we've all heard of. Some of us may have worshipped a bearded man in the sky with a book. I know as a child that was like my concept of God. Then there was the idea of a superhuman, the perfect human. This is basically God made in the image of likeness of man, as opposed to man being made in the image and likeness of God. Like Genesis talks about man was made in the image and likeness of God. Well, when you have either a bearded man in the sky or a huge man, a superman, is now your God. Well, that's God made in your image and likeness, only a better version of you. And there are people who believe in that, and if it works for them, fine, that's cool. Doesn't work for me and for other people, and it might not get you to transcendence, I don't know. Then there's the idea that God is not a being apart from us or separate from us, but then there's the Unity Church idea, and I'm ordained in the Unity tradition, that there is one power and one presence in the universe, a good and loving God. Now hear this again, because it's too easy to skate past what that means. There is one power and one presence in the universe. Only one. There's not separate you and separate me. There's not people in China separate from us. There's only one power and one presence in the universe, a good and loving God. Now, it's so easy just to rattle that off and say, okay, God is good and loving. Well, okay, yeah, that's right. But back up a second. There's one power in the universe. There's one presence, the capital P, in the universe. Play with that mentally as you walk through your day and see where it leads you. I can tell you, all my theories about where it leads. So what? It's the experience that you're going for in that. It's the experience. Then there's the idea of where systems theory of the universe comes into play regarding a higher power. Systems theory. The universe is a vast quantum field of consciousness. One consciousness manifesting through the intelligence of beings like us. We're just a system. There's a system of laws. There are certain laws that seem to work. There's the law of attraction we talked about often. There's the law of mind action that seems to work. There's the law of forgiveness, which definitely works. There's the law of love. There's the law of giving and receiving, which tends to work. As I give, so do I receive. There's the law of gravity that works each and every time. Mike, I'm going to use this as a demonstration. Each and every time, you see, watch, boom, it works. You know, it's like the law of attraction, law of mind action, law of forgiveness. These laws work. They're just laws. They seem to work. And sometimes then we do some tweaking on them when we do some discovery about them. And some mystic discovers more about them. Let me get Mike's cheat sheet here. So it's like that. It's like that. Gary Zukav, in The Seed of the Soul, talked about how this works. Now, Gary Zukav is a science writer. He understands quantum physics. He's very, very bright. How many know who I'm talking about? Wrote a book called Secrets of the Soul. I recommend it highly. He's written scientific treatises and quite bright, brilliant man. He says energy continually pours through you, entering at the top of your head and descending downward through your body. You are not a static system. You are a dynamic being of light that at each moment informs the energy that flows through you. You do this with each thought, with each intention. So, I think, most of my life, I'm walking around, I got 2 legs, 2 arms, I got a brain. I'm hoping I pick up some knowledge so I can get a job and get ahead in life. And here I am walking down the street, and I know to avoid the pothole there because I fell in it last time. And I know where to get some good bagels, and I know where my friends live. And so that's a static system. And then you die at some point. That's kind of a system that's run by a brain, and you like squirrels running around or cows. Just a static system. Zukav says, no, you're not that. He says you are not a static system. You are a dynamic being of light that at each moment informs that energy that's flowing down through your this is called by the Eastern mystics, the crown chakra. And the nuclear physicist, translator Zukav is saying you have energy flowing down through you, from the top of your head down, descending through your body. You are a dynamic being of light that at each moment informs that energy that flows through you. How does it inform you? How does that inform that energy? You have thoughts and intentions and commitments. This sounded at all like Abraham Hicks. Yeah, very, very, very related to Abraham. In fact, Abraham Hicks says you are creators who dovetail with creators. You are creators who are dovetailing with other creators. You are more than this physical body. You were source, with a capital S, before you came into this body, and even though you are focused into this personality, the larger part of you is still source. And that larger part of you that is source is offering a vibration that you have awareness of whether you realize it or not. Because you have emotion that indicates your alignment or your discord with that vibration, which is the larger part of you. And so you are God walking around the planet, just not aware of it. You have this divine essence of you is divine. And you are walking around creating life out of your thoughts, out of your perspectives. Then there's the idea that the Buddhists have. And it's very similar to a lot of this. The Buddhists had the idea of the everything nothing. That life is basically empty. Life is basically empty. And Werner Erhard said life is empty and meaningless. Life is totally empty and meaningless. From a Zen perspective, life is empty and meaningless. He also said it is also empty and meaningless to say that life is empty and meaningless. The mind constructs meaning and brings it to the experience and labels it with a story and it says what it is and puts a construct around it. And what Shunryu Suzuki, who brought Zen to this country, said, I do not mean voidness when I speak of emptiness. There is something, but that something is something which is always prepared for taking some particular form. Another time, speaking of on this sense of emptiness, he said, emptiness is like being at your mother's bosom, and she will take care of you. And that's the relationship that Jesus had with his Heavenly Father. God the Father. He called his Father Abba, A-B-B-A, Abba, which meant Father dearest, Papa, which means Daddy, Dada, which means, oh, my dear Father. It's not a father with a stick. It's not a strict father. It's the one who takes care of me. If that had been more of a maternal society, he could have said the same thing that Shunryu Suzuki said. It's like being at your mother's bosom. Abba could have been my mother's bosom, and she will take care of me. Because as the Buddhists talk about, there is an everything nothing at the basis of all of it. Down deep, beneath your cells, beneath the tissues of your body, your finger, your hand, down deep, way down deep. If you took an electron microscope and went down far enough, you'd see blackness, and you'd see basically nothing. It would look totally empty if you went deep enough. And you might see streaks of light going off, and those would be electrons, maybe, or subatomic particles, but it would be basically empty. And from that emptiness springs all of this. Look around you. There are things here, right? And ultimately, and they spring up because of what? Because of thought. Somebody had a thought, music stand. Oh, we need a music stand. We'll make a music stand. It didn't exist before the guy had the thought. Chairs. Oh, we could use the place to sit. Let's create some chairs. It comes out of the everything nothing. Emptiness. Everything nothing. And the quantum physicists are, that's why I often say that people in religion and people in science are heading in the same direction with using different languages. Walter Heisenberg, the father of quantum physics, said, and I don't have the exact quote, it's on our PowerPoint at the beginning of the service, he said, when you first look into the cup of the natural sciences, you will become an atheist. When you drink down far enough, you'll discover God waiting at the bottom for you. That's the father of quantum physics, Heisenberg. Then there's the idea, another idea, which I am fascinated with this, because we've never seen an electron. We've only seen the residue or where the electron was. We only see what the probability of where an electron has been. And that is the idea that some physicists have, that God is a God electron. There's one electron that's everywhere present. It's here and there, and it's on Mars too. All at the same time. It moves so rapidly in non-time or something that it's everywhere present. Now, wouldn't that be an interesting idea if that were God? One electron. Is that true? I don't know. Play with it. Rather than listening to talk radio and getting upset with the political debates, think about God as an electron. You'll get a lot more out of it. See, and then there's a God for atheists. And this is important. If you're in recovery and I cannot come to terms with God. I am an atheist. Okay, I got a God for you. I have a higher power for you. Not a God, but a higher power for you. And that is, if you look at the brain itself. See, the higher power does not have to be God in the 12-step regime. And definitely does not have to be tied to religion. Because there are higher powers with your own brain. If all you believe in is the three dimensions of time, distance, and space, if you just remember believe in the three dimensions, then you can live with this idea of a higher power. There is the limbic brain at the basis of your brain, where many of us live much of the time. It's the place where you experience fear. It's the original lizard brain, where you experience fear and some upliftment, and I need food, and I'm going to attack. And I'm being attacked, I'm going to attack back. That's the limbic brain. Okay, and that's right there. It was formed millions of years ago. Then there's the prefrontal cortex, which seems to be responsible for a higher brain function. That can be seen as a higher power. You can know with your prefrontal cortex that violence really begets violence. Every time I get in a fight, I get hit and get hurt. So maybe I should avoid being in a fight. So that's a higher power in a sense. It's prefrontal cortex. But there's something even higher than that. And that is the merger of the left and the right hemispheres of the brain working together. That is definitely a higher power. When you've got the linear function of the left brain with the creative function and the mystical function of the right brain working in tandem, whoa, all kinds of creativity and accomplishment are possible. But you don't get there by saying, okay, now I'm going to get my creative brain thinking now. Okay, go, let's go. Or I'm going to force this to happen. You kind of have to sit back and chill. You have to let go and let God, as the 12 steps say. Let go, just relax. Be open. Know something good's going to happen, like we always say here. Know that something good is about to happen, and then relax. And know you're going to be connected. How many times have you been looking for your car keys? This morning. And you're looking everywhere for them. You go back to the pants, you go back to the car, you go back to the drawer, and over and over and over again, and your damn car keys. Well, you're using your linear brain, you're remembering where you went and all that. And often it's happened so often for me. I give up. I don't know. I give up. Giving up seems to be really important. And what the giving up is the linear brain going, I don't know. I give up. Is there any other brain material we can call on here? Oh, the right side. You just relax. Go do something else. And boom, out of nowhere. Oh, I wonder if in my other pocket. Yeah, you go back there, the pants you had the other day. You forgot you wore. There they are. Where does that come from? There's another aspect of brain working. When you people who are in business can use this. I know you know how to do your business. I know you know how to do your job, how to get your clients and how to pay for your customers what they need. I know you know how to do that. You've read books. You've had a lot of history to it. If you want to take your business to the next level, you state the intention. Like Zukov says, I intend to take my business to the next level. Instead of 100 widgets, I want to get to 1,000 widgets. Boom. I want to get to 1,000 widgets. And then you just relax and go meditate and say, okay, God, how do I do this? And then you don't sit there trying to figure it out. You just relax. Now, who did you say? Who is the God in this atheist's model? Well, it's the merger of the left and right brain. That's all it is. Now, is that the truth of reality? Well, I think there's some truth to it. You can get by pretty well with that. And I happen to believe in that. And I believe in that there's other stuff too. I believe more in the everything, nothing, in the quanta that Deepak Chopra talks about and Gary Zukov talks about. But if you're an atheist or you have an atheist friend who's struggling with this whole higher power concept, introduce him to this, or introduce her to this whole idea. It's the experience is the thing. I'm going to leave you with one story that changed my life. I was in a group and we were studying very hard this idea of God. It was way back, oh God, it was 30 years ago. And they were talking about let go and let God. And I was like, let what and let who? What? I was an agnostic, if not an atheist at the time. I didn't know. And I struggled with this. And I was in this group counseling thing, and I struggled with it. Other people were getting it, and I couldn't get it. It was frustrating. So I went to the beach one day. And I think it was September in Florida, in Delray Beach, Florida. And the waves were big, and it was a beautiful day. Lots of wind and lots of waves. And I like to body surf. And I went out there and body surfing in. And I noticed that the people on the shore were getting further and further away. And I noticed that I was hearing water, and then I was hearing water, and then I was hearing water. I said, uh-oh. I'm caught in what's called a riptide, where the water converges on the beach from two different angles and then comes back out and takes everything in its way out to sea. I'm now in a riptide, and I've been in riptides before. I know how to get out of riptides. What you do is you swim perpendicular. You swim parallel to the beach, perpendicular to the riptide. You don't fight it. You don't swim in because you'll drown. It's stronger than you. And you swim parallel to the beach. You swim out of it. So there I am in the riptide, and my first reaction is to swim in. You go, no. My linear brain says, no, you don't do that. Okay, good. So now I'm just going to swim parallel to the beach. I'm swimming parallel to the beach, and nothing's happening. I'm still going further and further out. I'm still not able to touch. And I'm starting to angle more in to see if I can get closer in, because I'm starting to get tired. And I couldn't touch. And so swim parallel to the beach. I'm swimming parallel to the beach. I'm swimming. I'm not making any headway or progress at all. I'm going, but wait a second. I went back to all the things that I knew, the articles I had read about and how to get out of riptides. I went to my own memory of how I'd gotten out of riptides in the past, and I did everything I knew, and nothing worked. I said, I don't know. I'm so tired. I'm just too tired. I looked at the lifeguard and I waved. I said, I give up. I don't know. I waved. Lifeguard looked out, picked up his whole lifeguard thing, you know. He's ready to head out, and then I got embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. No, I'm not going to be saved by a lifeguard. I'm a good swimmer. I've been swimming all my life in the ocean. I know how the ocean works. No way, Jose. I'm not going to be saved and be a fool like this. And I just waved him off, and I started swimming hard. And I really began swimming hard. And then I went down once, twice, took on some water. I said, oh, that's 3 times I'm taking on water. So this time I went like this. I waved, and he grabbed his tube and he came racing out. And so what do I do between now and I got some time to kill here? What do? See what I did? I lay on my back and I floated. I just floated. I relaxed. I'm floating. I go, oh, I get it. Let go and let ocean. Stop the fight. Just relax. Let go and let God. I see it. And I looked to the sky. I said, I get it. I get the message. This is what let go and let God is. Stop the struggle. Stop the fight. Be open to help. Be open to getting ideas. Give up the fight. Give up that I know. That's huge. The logical linear mind is all about I know. Don't tell me I know. Because anybody can relate to that? Don't tell me I know. Don't you tell me I know. You're right. No, I'm right. That's what the logical linear mind does. But when you lay back, I don't know, I give up. Then the ocean supported me, buoyantly supported me. And he came out, and I'm okay now. He said, no, you're not. I said, okay, good. All right. So I grabbed onto this thing, and he hauled me in. But that was my experience. See, it was the experience of letting go and letting ocean, letting go and letting buoyancy, letting go. And that's buoyancy is a law. There's a law of buoyancy, which will support you. And I just wasn't in touch with that law at the time. But in the process of just releasing it, I had this spiritual experience, and it saved my life. Otherwise, I was a goner. It's the spiritual experience, not the knowledge. Spend some time this week. I recommend spend some time this week. This is fun. And you don't have to know the answer. The linear mind says, well, I got to understand how God works. No. I'll leave you with one more Zen koan. Knowing nothing is a very wonderful place to be. Knowing nothing is high consciousness. Because what that does is it tells your linear mind to relax. You don't have to know anything. And then you're open to everything. Let's take some moments in prayer. All right. Everything, nothing. Within me and around me, creating life right now, divine source energy within me and around me, creating life and opportunity and possibility. I give it all up and I just relax and go with your flow, your universal, wonderful flow. I'm so grateful. Take a deep breath with me. I just go with the flow of life. I go with this flow of life as Shunryu Suzuki says, is like being at the bosom of the mother, creating through your intentions, creating through your requests, creating what you need and desire. I'm open to that. I'm open to discovering this higher power at a deeper level, irrespective of religionists, irrespective of what authors say. I'm open to discovering for myself what this higher power has for me, my relationship with it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you so much, whatever it is that I'm thanking. Thank you so much. So be it and so it is. Amen.